Okay, we started. We have the Zoom ready. This is the budget meeting first for the presentation for the 2026 provided to the third. We're going to turn it over. We're going to call it to order. 44. Roll call. Bill Watson, Vice President.
Tony Bowden, Treasurer. I Tom Corman, Secretary.
Michelle B. Waldron, President. And we're going to have Larry Colson start off with the presentation, and everybody that's here that's on the committee for the budget and finance, if you could just stand up and Larry can acknowledge you or wave.
And so we got these three in the back, Brian, Larry, and Tony, and then I think Donna's not here.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
And Donna.
Have a lot of students presentation first. Okay, so my name's Larry Colson, I'm the chairman of the finance committee. We're going to go over, I'm going to give a short presentation on to hopefully address some of the common questions and let you know kind of how this was formed, and then I'd like to hold the questions to the end if possible. I think the board can do what they want, but hopefully we'll get to most of your questions throughout the presentation, and if not, we can address them afterwards. And then I assume the board's going to open up for discussion and eventually vote on something. So quickly, these are the 7 sections I'm going to go over in the presentation today. So what this is, it's a proposed budget. It's not approved. That's something that will happen tonight. It's an attempt to accurately reflect the expenses that we will incur if we keep our current level of service. So we're not trying to. We didn't sit back and look and try to figure out how to cut costs or anything else. We just said, here's what the costs are with the contracts and what we expect to come in. This is not something we threw together in a couple of days. This is several months worth of work. It is only an estimate. Some expenses are unknown, just like any budget or anything else. Some are known, some are unknown. And it also assumes full payment of dues by each household here. I want to throw in that at the end of September, we were almost $41,000 in past due amounts from various homes in the community. That's something that the board and lawyers have to address, but just keep in mind that when we set the dues number, if we don't get $40,000 in, it doesn't get made up anywhere. That's just money that we have to not spend somewhere else or borrow it or find, back somewhere else. So what this is not, it's not perfect. I'm not holding out. The committee's not holding out. This is perfect. If you find mistakes, we'll readily acknowledge them, and hopefully they're in our favor. And it's not policy decision. So any reductions in services or trade-off are exclusive purview of the board. That we don't think it's the responsibility of the finance committee to start making decisions about policy, whether we want to keep mulch or not keep mulch. That's the board, not us. Okay, so we quickly introduced the finance committee so we can move on. Okay, so this is the process we went through. Work began back in July. We started digging into financials, expenses, various trends, and all the contracts. We didn't do the contracts quite as well last year because we took some numbers from the prior management and put them together, and so some of those numbers were not accurate. So and I'm not saying we get everything right this year, but I think we got a better shot at looking at the contract. So we looked at the financials, trying to create some trends for and models for the various line items. We took a look at specific expenses that didn't look right, and we found a number of things that were miscoded on the financials from this year. So if you miscode things on the financials, not only do we not have a good reflection of what we're doing this year, but it's hard to budget for next year. We looked at the contracts to identify key obligations, and one of the things we tried to do was reach out to the vendors and at least sync the contracts up with the end of the year. We had some contracts that ended 3 months into the year, 3 months before the end of the year. It's a whole lot easier for contracts to co-terminus with the end of the year. And then we prepared a draft budget based on that, and we solicited feedback from the finance committee, and then dropped it to the board for basic feedback for them to check it over. But other than minor tweaks, again, we didn't want to let a single board member create policy issues. That's a purview of the entire board. Okay, so I want to go through, hopefully briefly, what I consider lines of note. So as you look at the budget, there's some common areas I think if I was looking at it without having been involved in it, I'd go, I don't understand. What's that mean? So I'm going to take the ones that I think are the ones that you probably have questions on. So cable TV income, that's zero. in an accrual accounting system, so when we signed our cable contract, they gave us what's called a door fee. I don't remember what it was 50,000, 60,000, something like that. And technically you should take, 1/5 of that or 1/7 of that, whatever the contract length is, and apply it every year to the budget, and then you can use that money. But what we did is we stuck it in the operating account, spent it. So since we spent it, we could certainly add it to the income, but it's not there anymore. And what did we spend it on? I don't know. We spent it on operating. It's not, somebody can take it. We spent it on legitimate expenses, but it's not there anymore, so we can't take it as income because it doesn't exist. Bank interest income. There's a question on Facebook about bank interest income. We have two main types of accounts. We have reserve accounts, we have operating accounts. Reserve account has a lot of money in it, $700,000. That makes decent interest every year. The operating account goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down. We don't make a lot of money, so we put in there, I think, $1,500 or so. That's why you don't see a big line of interest. Even now that the money that goes into reserve, that stays in the reserve, and that's what that's used for. Professional services, that line was put in there last year and not used. That was designated for a road study. So without getting into a lot of detail, we can later if you want. But our reserve contribution is based upon a reserve study that does not currently include the big road expense of 2.8 or 3 point some million dollars in 15 or 20 years. And the thought was, until we do a road study and get a sense of what's going on in the community, what roads need to be done at what time, we shouldn't start the budget for something we don't really know. However, we know it's coming sometime. So professional services line, you should not take that out, certainly can, but we kept it in there this year, didn't do the study and spent the money. So this year we should probably leave it in and actually do the study. The emergency fund is something that we tried to do last year. It was requested by Michelle. I think it's a good idea, but really it's contingency funds for operating expenses. If we are 40,000 short, the 12,000 we're proposing for the emergency fund helps to offset that, but it's not designated for anything particular. Multi-peril insurance line is large. So what I did was I contacted our insurance agent. Our policy comes due in either March or May, those M months. And we can't really get quotes until 3 months prior. I asked if they quoted that out every year, and they said yes. They do 3 different companies. They quote that out, and so what she did was she said plan on a 20% increase between this year and next year. So I took not from the budget, but what we actually are paying on the insurance, and then increased by 20% for this year. One thing that we're also suggesting is that in the past we have financed the insurance, meaning we're paying interest to the insurance company in order to make monthly payments. What we're suggesting is that if it's legal, borrow money from the reserve fund, pay the insurance when it's due, and then pay ourselves back. And if we pay interest or not interest, at least we're not paying interest to someone. And that's why that number maybe doesn't look right, but and hopefully it'll come in lower. But we're trying to plan for what might happen. Reserve maintenance. We do not have a contract for this. We contacted the company and they said estimate $9,000 per quarter. It's possible we can go back to them and do anything, but we did not attempt to negotiate that contract. We're just trying to identify what the current expense would be. Pressure cleaning jumped by, I think it was 100%. That was just an error in last year's budget. Either we, like right now, our contract requires 2 pressure cleanings at $7,500 each. So that's $15,000. That's why it looks like it went up. They're off on the budget last year. We only had 1. I think we probably heard from management that it was only $7,500, and that's what we put in. So that's the real number on the contract. In Vera, I won't go into a lot of details without saying, except saying there's 2 contracts. We're not sure exactly which one is in force. We appear to be paying the fees based around the first one, and the thing calls for a 5% increase each year, up to a 5% increase. So that's what we budgeted. If we think it's going to be less, or the board's aware of something else going on with the Vera, then we can ignore that line. Irrigation is an interesting problem. It's one of the services that we provide as a community, keeps everybody's lawn water, keeps you from having to pay for water, but it does require a lot of maintenance. So as things break, either because of end of life, because tree roots grow into the valve, as lightning strikes it, as the wiring goes bad, or somebody parks on the grass that they're not supposed to be in the cracks. It's an expensive thing to keep maintaining. We weren't able to find any good metrics on what it would cost in a community of our size. So what we tried to do is budget based around what we noticed this year in the contracts that we had for maintenance. Common area, phone and internet. I can't explain why we're paying what we have because it's in the contract in a different way or it looks like. So I took what the bills appear to be, amortized them over the time and looked at the contract and tried to come up with what we thought the common area interest phone and internet is. That covers the clubhouse, the gym, and all the internet points at various gates for the campus. And then pool reserves. I got a whole section on reserves. That is an item that is a lot of money and people often think, well, why don't we just not contribute as much? That's a savings account over time for all the things that have to go on. I'll cover that here in a little bit more detail. Back right now. So two things. The well-funded reserve is not just good accounting, it's a foundation of long-term stability. Ensures today's homeowners enjoy peace of mind while tomorrow's owners inherit a community, not a liability. And the second one, healthy reserves turn unexpected repairs and planned projects, underfunded reserves turn planned projects into crises. And that's really true. It's, imagine in your own home budget, if something goes wrong, you need a new roof and you don't have a roof, right? You don't have the money to pay for it. That's what we're trying to plan for.
You could turn around and say search site, and 98 people died because they didn't.
Yeah, it's a little different situation. I mean,
But it was still a reserve.
Yeah, so, and I will say that our reserves have traditionally been vastly underfunded. We're currently underfunded because we have the road expenses coming, we're accounting for zero of it. We just don't know what it is, but right now our reserves are underfunded. So yes, can you reduce that? We're asking for a 3% increase this year. That's what the reserve study is contemplated. Okay, so some recent reserve projects. We did the playground at 55-some thousand, gym refurbishment for about 40. I don't know if anybody, I don't use the playground except at night. But the gym I use pretty regularly, and I will tell you that having used it pretty regularly for the last 3 years, it gets a lot of use. It's been in there. I was in there this morning, and usually I was the only person in there, and now there's always 2 or 3 people. So it gets a lot of use. Here's some upcoming reserve expenses. Now, I want to make sure you understand these are not things we have to spend money on. They're anticipated. So a good reserve study says, what do you got? How old is it? What's the expected life? How much is it going to cost today? Project the dollars out, and that's when you should plan for replacement. It could come early, it could come late. In most cases, it'll come. Some of them might not ever come, or we might say we don't want to do it. For instance, one of the things was pool furniture replacement. We might say, oh, the pool furniture's fine, we just need a power wash. We might not care if it has pool furniture, right? But so you don't have to do it, but it's an amenity the community enjoys today. So I'm not going to go over each one of these. There's some large ones there, like the security system, which we had planned to do in 2026. But we have a contract with Enviro, so that's going to get pushed out. That plays in our favor. Longer you can push an expense, better off you are. Concrete sidewalk repair over time. Danny and I were talking about the tree root problem, but going into the irrigation system, and the tree roots on those live oaks are going to be starting to roll sidewalk. I know, Michael, you've done some concrete repair in the past, so we have to budget for those things. And then I did put the big one, and that's a rough estimate given on what I said before. But in 2038, we're talking about milling and re-overlaying all the streets, and it's a $3 million project. And if we don't have that money in there, we either don't do the roads, and then we got potholes and we got cracks, and then it costs us more, and then nobody wants to move into the neighborhood, or we assess. And if you're not liking the increases we got on the budget this year, really not gonna like a $10,000 or $15,000. So, okay, I wanted to throw this in because I think it's something that the board, Larry Zork and I were talking about this the other day, and I think the board really needs to come to some general plan about this, and that's what you use the reserve funds for. Some of them are obvious, right? Painting the clubhouse, resurfacing the tennis court. Those are pretty obvious things. But can we borrow from ourselves? If we need to get money and use it for something and intend to pay it back, then we do that. I think for certain types of irrigation fixes, it might be appropriate to pull from the reserve. So the tree root issue, well, that's something that happened over time. Maybe it makes sense to do the repair because that, the tree roots are going to happen in other areas of the community. Maybe it makes sense to pull out of the reserve for that. Certainly for components that are end of life. So if there's a valve and it's got a 7-year life and we're using 10, I don't see why we should take that out of operating. We have to pay that out of reserve. So we have to figure out how to do that. It's not clearly for equipment that's broken by a car or somebody running a hedge trimmer, equipment stuff. That's operating, that's just regular stuff. But for end of life things, we may want to consider using reserve funds to offset some of the expenses, but you got to use it appropriately. And it's not for any ordinary operating expenses unless we borrow and pay that. And so those are the policy decisions the board has made, as well as long as legal says it's okay to do. So where are the opportunities here? So certain expenses, almost all the large ones and some of the middling ones are based on contracts which we have signed or multi-year contracts. I think we do a pretty good job negotiating them. Some of you might agree or disagree, but we do the work and that's the result. So unless we want to try to renegotiate or cancel, and then we're going to incur some legal expenses, those expenses are locked in, and that means it's on the budget, and we don't really have much of a choice. Following areas are ones that have some impact and then can be adjusted. It comes with a big assumption, and that's that if we reduce something we think is going to cost a certain amount, that we understand the impacts of those reductions, so what's it going to do to the community, and that somebody manages that budget line. You notice I put some. I don't know who that is. It's probably a group of people, but if we're managing expenses as they come in and we say, hey, look, our office expense line is $6,000 and we need to spend an extra $1,000. Okay, do we spend it, take it somewhere else? Do we say, nope, we can't afford that this year, we're not gonna spend it. But you have to do that book, and it makes it more difficult because we get financials a month late after the end of the month, so it's harder to know what's actually happening. I guess I said that over here too. It doesn't make any sense at all to reduce, if we know an expense is gonna come through, it feels good to reduce the budget line, but it doesn't do any good because what are we gonna do about the money? What are we gonna do when that expense comes? And then I talk again about somebody has to manage that. So keep in mind that we have no other source of income other than the tiny little bits of interest and whatnot, clickers. If everybody wants to buy 16 clickers, that'll help us, but it's coming out of your pocket anyway. So our only source of income that we can do is to do the dues. We don't have another thing. We just do a marketing thing and bring in get the salespeople to push a little harder and bring some in. This is our one shot getting. So here are what I consider opportunities. Office expense, we can somewhat control that based on things. There's certain things we have to do. We have to have the equipment, do mailings, but there may be things in there we can do. Legal fees collections, we can mess with that. We can control what we use our lawyers for, but if we're trying to collect our 41 grand or whatever, it's a little harder if you don't have a lawyer able to do that. Professional service, I talked about that earlier. I don't think we should touch that at all. We really need the road study so we can get a better handle on what our reserve expenses really are as opposed to the underfunded that we are. And it's consciously underfunded now, but I've explained that. The emergency fund, we got $12,000 devoted to that. If we want to whack it, we can, but it does give us some cushion. Preserve maintenance, I don't believe we have a contract for preserve maintenance. I don't know how often we have to do it. I just don't know enough about the legalities of that. Could we find a cheaper vendor? Could we do it less? I don't know, but I know we ignored it for a few years and had to spend a lot of money. So Danny might be able to talk to that. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but you might be able to know more about that at the right time. Thank you. Irrigation pump maintenance. The pump is scheduled for replacement. Not that we have to do it, but we're anticipating that it will be a replacement. I think it's about $100,000. If we maintain it well, we might be able to push that big expense up. So we increased the pump maintenance just based on what we were seeing and some of the expenses we came through. Tree trimming, removal, replacement. We can cut that line. You can kind of set that whatever you want. You just have less that you can do. Holiday lighting. I think only the contract for holiday lighting for 26 is signed, isn't it?
Through 26.
Yeah, through 26. So I should not have put that on there. I wasn't sure when I put this together. So if we have a contract with that for 26, we really can't mess with that. Social events and services, I just threw it in as a placeholder. The board asked me to move it down to 1,000 from whatever was in there. I think 5,000 or 6,000. Doesn't have a huge impact, but it does add to the community. Irrigation supplies and repairs and maintenance. We can mess with those if we understand what's going to happen. If we decide that if the thing is down and maybe we say we're only having repairs once a quarter, and if your irrigation goes down, your irrigation goes down, and that's it. Landscape extras is another category. All the repair and maintenance categories, we're kind of guessing on that. I mean, we have problems with the gates all the time. I think that's pretty important. People use the pool. The guardhouse doesn't need a whole lot of maintenance, but it does need some maintenance to keep it going. And I don't know if we ever would have a guard, I doubt it, but we have it there, we have to maintain it. And then, obviously, the pool reserves is a big number, but for the reasons that I stated before, I think that number should be bigger, but we kind of compromised on the finance committee until we get the roads. So I think that is what I got. So at that point, I don't know how the board wants to handle this. If you want to ask questions first and open it up. I don't know if you have a general discussion, questions about the presentation, whatever you want to do, I can work with it.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Larry.
First and foremost, thank you. Yeah, I think, Larry, you have the budget where you can go out, right?
Oh, unfortunately, I
Let's go with the Excel. Google Sheet.
Well, I'm gonna do the Google Sheets because that's the live one. It's the same one you have.
So as Larry noted, the community has worked on this for many, many months. The board has all looked at this, we've all speed it up to a degree. Some of it is, as Larry said, policy decisions. As one of the founding members of the social committee back in 2019. I laughed it all down as much as I could. I think given the current, not political, but economy, no one wants to see dues go up, right? But if we're also being realistic, costs are rising, those costs aren't just absorbed, right? I think for those of you who are familiar with budgets, are familiar with our specific association budget, it actually is pretty bare bones. Larry went through some of the areas where there's controlled expenses. But if you look at those controlled expenses, legal fees. Okay, there's an offset, right? If we flash that to make it so our monthly dues are lower, well, then we have to be comfortable with what, right? Because we're also budgeting that income, right? And so if we're not utilizing legal to go after tenants or not tenants, residents who aren't paying, we're also not receiving that revenue, right? And so I think it's important for those who are maybe not comfortable and confident with financial budgeting and accounting is to understand that when you reduce your expenses, you're also reducing our income, right? And so if anybody has the ability to reduce our expenses one way or another, the board is absolutely open to that, right? And I think that the more we can do that, the better, right? And I think that helps everybody. But I just want to put it out there that the board this is not a job anybody actually wants, right? Nobody wants to tell you guys that we're increasing.
Oh, it's a fantastic non-paid job. It's wonderful.
Exactly. So, I want to lead with that. I know some people have big emotions, and I respect that, and I understand it. But please keep that in mind as you guys
Sure.
make comments and as you guys make suggestions. If anybody has
Actually,
access, that's awesome.
I was looking at this budget last night and really taking a strong look at it. I'm on two other boards, a condo and a warehouse district.
excuse me, you say who you are?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Ray Filarimo. We met, yes. Hi, Michael. Ray Filarimo, yes.
You live where?
I was reserved. On the other side, at least,
100% of people.
Well, that's not really.
on the other side in the estates, over by Berry. But I was looking at the budget and, I understand the irrigation issues we're having here, but I think two things. I'm really curious, Larry, and I would like to help you with that because we've been able to actually reduce the insurance. The insurance on both other places are going down. So I don't understand why our agent is saying it's gonna go up 20%, as you said. So maybe I could reach in.
That's news to me because every single person I've talked to, everybody's insurance going up, especially in Florida. But if you have a different
We'll try.
approach,
We'll try. we'll try, you know, that's all I wanna say. The other thing is I noticed you had something about asphalt. And that's a big nut. It's about $56,000 for next year. And one of my personal friends is the Weeklies. So Weeklies have weekly paving and they've paved, you know, most of 95 and down there, you know, and all that. And that sealer stuff is actually not healthy. It actually reduces the lifespan of the asphalt. And the reason it does that is because it's kind of like you're sealing it, but asphalt needs to breathe. And so that's maybe a place that we can just patch where it might be cracked, but that sealer stuff, it'll save a lot of money.
So that's just in the reserve study, so that's not actually.
Oh, okay, I saw it up there and I figured you were gonna spend more.
These items that I put up here are not in the operating budget, right? So these are not up for contention. The only part of the budget that this matters to is the reserve contribution. We actually have enough money to cover all the stuff,
Okay.
except the last one, right? But if you drain the fund, then you have nothing over time to do everything else. We're counting on the interest income, we're counting on the contributions to that every year to grow, to cover that kind of stuff.
Well, maybe we could take the 56,000 and put it towards the 2.8 million. And that'll be a start. I don't know.
Those are reserve expenses, probably not appropriate for this meeting.
Oh, whatever.
Operating budget.
So anyway, I would like to help you guys with the insurance. I'm very sharp on that and hopefully we can get it right.
Well, I believe Cody can speak to that, because Cody, I think, spent quite a lot of time trying to find another insurance company.
Yes, I contacted a
He
few.
can speak to it right now, so maybe you can talk to him about.
Yes, I will. I will hook up Cody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. If we can, we can. If we can, it is what it is.
I know I reached out to Brown and Brown, I have a
Yeah.
personal contact there that does insurance. Unfortunately, our property is too small that you can believe it, they're looking for policies that are reaching over $1.5 million is what their company's running.
Oh,
I
wow.
did have a meeting with, I believe, Jack Hamilton Insurance last week.
Yeah.
And they're helping one of my condos, so that's another contact we could reach out and see if they can help us with our insurance
Okay.
here. But yeah, that's definitely.
The name's not coming to me, but the gentleman that helped us, because we went, on 35 warehouses with preserve, with everything, you know, we were at 65,000. Then we went to 56, now we're at 42.
Well, so with
So
the
it's great.
association, because I know you know the condo, and the association has to ensure common area.
Correct.
For a condo, there's a lot less common areas, so think about it now, we're ensuring the pool, clubhouse, gym, you've got all of the common areas with the gates that are being insured, so for an HOA is gonna be expensive, I don't have any HOAs that insurance is dropping right now.
All right,
Every
so,
single one is
but
going
we'll
up.
try. I'll see if we can do something.
Yeah, come see me, I'll be, unfortunately, I won't be here tomorrow, I have meetings all day.
It's okay,
But
so
come
do
see
I.
me next week, I'm here Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and we'll sit down and go over something.
Okay, sounds good.
So Joe Martinez, Bald Eagle, could we also, when you get those quotes, we gotta break out of what's driving it, you know, it's like when we do auto insurance, right, you get comprehensive this, so what's driving liability, right? You know, and whatnot, so like, because I looked online, I know we got a $25 million cap policy on the place, but you know, how much is the gym costing, the swing set, the clubhouse, the pool?
Yeah,
Playground.
I actually had,
Right, you know, what's driving all those breakouts?
Hamilton, who I met with last week, actually founded one of my condo policies that we're being charged for terrorism insurance. I will tell you right now, there's never been a claim of terrorism insurance in Florida for an HOA.
Yeah, but you
There
got to be
are
around our
things-
neighborhood, right?
There are things that agents, especially if you've been with that agent for a long time, that are sneaking in there to make their agent, because an insurance company, what are they for? They're making money, that's their whole thing, is to make money. So they will sneak things in there, so it was nice meeting with Jack Hamilton, because he went through our current policy and there was things in there that we don't need. Our DNO wasn't high enough, things like that, so I mean, it'll be good to bring in another agent to take a look at what we currently have compared to what we actually need.
Yeah, Cody,
Yes.
what's our experience rating, though, are we having lawsuits and problems with the insurance companies really?
As far as I know, you guys have had 0 losses in the past 5 years, which is what they look for, is a 5-year case. So as long as we can stay on that track, we can either keep our insurance the same or a minimal increase. The chances of it decreasing are only gonna happen if we can find a terrorism insurance policy, and that we don't need. But yeah, there's things we can do, but again, like I said, we've had an agent at that con over years now and sneaking things in, so it'll be good to have, even if we don't go with a new agency, it'll be good to have fresh eyes on the policy, letting us know, hey, you're overpaying here, here's a policy you don't even need, and it may only save us a couple $100, but that adds up over the years, so.
And I do believe though that whether it's insurance companies or any other business, because everybody knows prices are going up,
Yes,
they throw it in.
I'm gonna tell you, I have one property out of 7 that was able to keep their fees the same, and that's because their association votes on how their funding to the reserves is done, it's in their documents, that's what it's done. But the other 6, increasing fees of minimum 10.
Okay.
So it's happening everywhere. I mean, all of our vendors, their costs are going up, so our costs are gonna go up. If you get a cheaper vendor, I promise you, you will get what you pay.
Exactly, yeah.
This is Angela, everyone, she's training under me, so she can
Angela.
attest to what you pay for, what you get. I have a property that is very cheap with landscaping and it is not true. So it is true, you pay for what you get, like, so it's some of these things, they may seem expensive to you guys, but I can promise you this is one of the best looking communities I have. So congratulations to your landscaping committee and everyone else who helps with getting these vendors in. Questions, concerns, comments?
Cody.
Yes.
I was just looking at that, so it just caught my eye, accounting audit 4,000, are we gonna do an accounting audit? It says 0.
It's 3,600. We haven't,
I was able to-
do accountants for 3 years, never an audit, and that's the contract.
Michelle and I were able to get our accountant to, because I think he came in at like 4,200, we got him down to 36, which is what we budgeted, and got him to lock that price in for 24, 25, and 26.
Okay, great.
So yes, and he actually got our, rather quickly compared to the other.
Okay, that's good.
Yes.
Years of it.
Caught up to 24.
You're caught up.
We are caught up to
We are
24.
compliant to the statute.
Yes, it is.
We are officially caught up.
The board adapted that every rule of practice, every 3 years, will be changing the auditor. That's just good practice.
Yes.
It's on the board.
So we've got Jerry Jackson, 25, 26, no, 24, 25, and 26, so for 27, we will be probably.
So I have a question,
Yes.
the building portal here in Fall Legal, so for the low hanging fruit, we have what, $41,000 and.
I will tell you that as of today, you have a pinch over $50,000 in arrears. You have $31,303 are with the attorney for collections. I have 14 owners who have yet to pay November, and there are 36 total who owe us money.
So can I propose that I don't, hopefully everybody here is paying their HOAs, can we socially shame them on social media or wherever, because I think it's.
As your property manager, I cannot condone that, but you are welcome to do what you want. I will throw this idea out to the board to discuss. It will be a membership vote to update your documents. I do have an HOA who has it in their documents if you get to their quarterly, so if you get 2 quarters behind, that's 2 payments compared to the 4. We will send you a letter telling you have to pay the next year in full. So that might be something we want to discuss and get with our attorney about, but it is something HOAs have the ability to do. It's called an accelerated dues. So say someone owes us $4,000, we're like, all right, they're not paying the attorney, let's accelerate the dues also. So if we finally get that 4,000, they have to pay us upfront for the next year.
Just a simple Facebook post.
I'm not on your Facebook, thankfully, so.
If president has the right to request any financial invoice, any document as it pertains to the association at any time, it doesn't need to be made in writing, and there are some statutes.
Yes.
I strongly recommend anybody who would like to request the list of the current delinquencies and.
Yes. As you notice on your portal, if you look, you have the financials. It is an owner's copy, which only gives you a certain amount. There is, information that we can't just give out because you got your bank information, owners who owe money, owners who are prepaid. But if you want to send me an email, hey, can I have the whole financial? I got you within 10 business days, okay? That will give you everything you need. Yes.
So just 2 things real quick, before we shame people. I just wanna let everybody know, because Cody was really helpful, we were told we were delinquent from when we switched over property managers back like 2 years ago. And we were not delinquent, we proved that we had paid every single month since we had been here, because it was automatically taken out of our account. So just be careful with shaming anybody, because they may have actually paid and it might be incorrect information.
So yes,
But my next question
if you have that situation, come talk to me, prove to me that they took the money from your account. And we can kind of clear things up, but unless you come to me, there's too many people who are like.
And then my other question is when people don't pay, like
What's our process?
well, no, what's the repercussions for that?
Okay. So here's the process, they get a 30-day notice from my office. If they don't pay, they get sent to the attorney for collections once I think the board has decided 2,500 or more, which is reasonable considering the fees that come along with it. Yes, we can recoup them, but not until that person pays, okay, we still have to pay our attorney.
If somebody goes to sell their home.
We can
put
collect
on
it
their
at closing,
stock
yep.
book, They can't sell, and then as soon as the house is sold, we get that.
So, after that, it goes to the attorney, if they don't want to pay, I believe it's 60 days, something, I have to get the exact amount, but a certain amount of time goes through. I get a fun letter that says, hey guys, you wanna place a lien on it? I email it to the board, they say yes, one of the officers signs it, I send it back to the attorney, $475 to place a lien. We pay that up front when we get our legal bill, then we recoup it after, a closing happens or they decide to pay. After the lien, I believe it's 60 to 90 days, if they don't pay on the lien, we get a letter asking if we want to foreclose, and I tell you this because I love foreclosing on homes, because I have not done it. You wanna know why? By the time they get their letter that says they have 20 days until a judgment is rendered, they won't pay. I had someone pay on the 19th day before their house was set to go to auction. I tell all of my boards, you get that foreclosure, send it out, because I guarantee you, they don't wanna lose their home for a few $1,000s when it's costing, your guys' homes are selling for 700 plus. So I push it because we will recoup those funds,
We have a
so
good amount of the attorney.
we're getting close, I think I have 3 liens out, so. We're working on it.
So the money doesn't only get recouped if they sell, but if they don't, if they say, oh, well, I don't care that you building on my house, I don't plan on.
We foreclose and we get that money from auction, yep. Yeah, they really don't want, I don't play, I have a bachelor's in business. An association is a business, we are here to provide services for you, you guys pay us to provide those services. We don't make that money, we can't pay our vendors then sue us, alright, it's a long string of things, but I push my boards to recoup that money any way they can, if that includes going all the way through a foreclosure, that's it.
Hey, Cody,
Yes.
Bill will try to be here. Do we know why some of these people aren't paying or, do they?
I make sure my bills are paid, so I don't know what they're doing.
Do we ever hear?
Can I just make a quick suggestion? If we stay on this topic, because this is a topic we talk about every board meeting.
I know.
If we stay here, we're never gonna get the budget done, because this is an ongoing thing, and honestly doesn't impact the budget, it's a problem.
Yes.
But
We talk about it every meeting, and every meeting the number stays the same, and it's not changing, so.
no, it's come down, it's come down. No, it's definitely come down.
The component that does change, they actually manage to collect some people out who actually paid, and as the process goes on, you can see people making big payments. Unfortunately, some of these same people just start not paying again. It's kind of
And
sporadic,
we have
but they have to
dramatic
have some.
parallels to the attorney.
Jason, I think it's not only does the number come down, but we're much better at getting on to the problem, and I don't think we followed up with it before, so there is progress. I understand your frustration, I agree with you.
I think the number's been around 50,000.
It started at 75,000 when I took over in May. The reason you're at 50 right now is like I said, there's 14 people who haven't paid their November payment. You take them out, that's what, an average $450 by 14.
The number I had.
You got 6,000 right there, so we drop even below 50,000 down to 40, which is 30,000 of that is at the attorney. We get that money, we're down to less than 20, which is about the
Again,
average
it
of
doesn't affect the
associations.
budget, it just affects cash collections.
Yes.
I have a question about the flooding key here. On capital contribution, I don't know how much it is now, but when I moved in, it was $1,200 per home. According to this, we've only sold 7 homes in here in the last.
Since January?
Yeah.
Yeah, about right. About right, your
And-
capital
and-
contribution is, I think, 3 monthly
Times.
payments. So
So whatever your monthly is.
right,
Yeah.
of that house.
Whether it's the 41979.
Did I ever speak, do we get income from stockholder?
Yes.
Okay.
We just
That could be
got,
happening.
we just got money back from a resident who ran over a pipe and broke it, and we were able to get that applied to their account before their stockholder went out. And
We're not getting anything from out of compliance, but those fines or anything,
I got you.
it's income.
It is, but that's, come see me Monday, because it's a huge process we have to go through, and I wanna go through my list with you.
But also keep in mind that we don't wanna budget, I mean, honestly, I think, I don't wanna speak for Larry, but I'll speak for Larry, I think Larry would prefer we don't even budget for some of these items because it's just a shot in the dark, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, we know we can have some homes turnover, but I mean, the original budget, I didn't put any interest in because you know, our money goes up and down so much, I wouldn't count on it. And just said we should put something in, but I would prefer to have some money left at the end of the year.
Right.
As opposed to be negative, but not everybody manages their budget that way.
Yeah, Jason Daysky here. Another concern I have with what Larry has said multiple times in the group is it just gets used, whether it's budgeted or not. So if we have money left over, our history is it just gets used. It gets absorbed somewhere else. We don't have somebody that's following the line.
Don't look at me.
I'm glad you said that, and it's just, nobody's following up or watching, it just gets used. All these line items here, they're great, but at the end of the day, whatever it is that we're budgeting for, it's just getting used and absorbed somewhere else. So that's a bigger problem. You don't have somebody that's going in and making hard decisions, and I brought it up last year. You know, somebody that's going in and making hard decision that's actually affecting.
I will say, Jason, though,
Like what?
the budget, I would say.
Okay, so like what? We have cameras that don't work. So we have a contract that I believe has been renewed.
Yeah, we did stop paying it for a while to try to get going. We, unfortunately, with the contract.
But I think we've re-signed a new contract since we stopped paying them. Then we were not under contract.
We started paying them again because they were going to shut us down.
Well, we weren't under contract
Okay,
as
so-
of 2 years ago.
No, well, there's two there's two
That's.
So where did that money go? The money that, when we stopped paying them? Where did that money go?
You're paying them back to the
If you go back to the financial, it was actually zero, we shouldn't have done it, we're zeros in for that month. For a couple of months, and then when we got a letter that basically said that we're gonna stop our security system. We said, well, we can't just not pay them, we have to sort through the issue with the contracts, so we started paying, so. Over 2 months, we wound up paying like $18,000 1 month, which is 3 months payment.
What would they have turned off? Because it doesn't work now. It actually doesn't, because I drove up on my house and asked them, I said, can you see me? And they said no.
Okay,
So they
I
can't
mean,
see you, so it doesn't work, it's just a
Okay,
game.
hold on.
It's just a
Okay,
game.
so we hear you. Come to the office, love to talk to you, Cody would love to talk to you, that's not what we're
But
gonna.
come to the
have
office, you're
budget
budgeting now $78,000, which keeps going up every
meeting.
year.
A contract, Jason.
But a contract that we didn't have 2 years
So,
ago, so where do we have a contract?
Jason, the contract for
I was on the security system that was looking to replace it because it wasn't under contract yet.
So,
So
now,
like you know, otherwise I was lied to 2 years ago or I'm being lied to.
Jason, we went into this in great detail at the last board meeting, which we're not in.
it's
So
been.
don't waste the budget.
I'm really sorry that I missed one of, you have them once a quarter now, you used to have them every month, now we have them once a quarter, so if you miss one, you're 6 months and you get punished. Okay. I have shown you.
Okay, so it's actually, attorney, there's a 2019 contract and a 22 contract, that neither contract was ever sent to Deborah Ross to be redlined. So we are in the situation we're in because she cannot get us out of it. They come out, you were there with Jackie when they came out. Now they're saying, if we fix a camera and install stuff, it's gonna take us to 2029.
When are we done with them? Just curious.
The contract is set to expire October 2026. I have been working closely with legal, trying to get a breach of contract in court. As of right now, that's where we're at, that's really all we can.
Every time something happens with the mirror, it's gotta be sent to the office so we can have proof that there's been problems with it and she can try to get us out of it. But this is a problem that existed years ago. I stood up in this room in 19 and said the cameras don't work.
But we've been paying for it for 5 years. If you said that you still have 19.
We're paying them monthly for the guards to answer, like when people in.
The software for the
The
gates.
software for the gates.
That's.
You gotta get people in and out. Simple as that.
Do we have any other questions?
Going forward, we could get a different method, but.
Any comments on the budget?
Regarding the budget, yes.
Larry, you had mentioned a couple of things to reduce there, just curious if one of those could be that landscape mulch that is for $20,000.
Yeah, so I originally thought that landscape mulch was flexible, and Jill and I had talked about that, but I come to find out we have a contract for $20,000 in place for 2026, so that's not.
That's cheap.
Yeah,
Cheap.
So did we have one for the tax year?
Did they come, no, they haven't done it, did they do it this year?
For 2025?
Yeah,
Yes, it's fine to be done next week.
oh, okay, there you go.
Or,
So we will, this will not be a zero line.
correct, we have most getting until next week.
They were supposed to be, they were delayed.
It's supposed to be October 26th, whether it
And
takes.
they got pushed out because of the weather.
And the reason that the projected year in actual is 0 is because 0 linear projected out at the end of the year is 0. So I don't try to project what I think it's gonna cost, it's just what we spent linear projected out based on a number of.
The security cameras are going up though? In the budget?
No, they seem to be.
So
Even.
Envira is going up. The reason I had to go up is because I looked at every financial that came through on 2025, and it's a pain because we can't search them anymore, but that went up. I put down what they were doing. I looked at about the time of the year that they did the price increase, and contracts that they could go up to a 5% price increase. So that's what I did. I took what we were paying, projected it into whenever their increase month is, and increased it 5%. So I have a couple of months of the old number and 12 months or 10 months of the new number. Could have come less? It could, but it could be that.
But is that accurate or are we in a contract?
We're in a contract we can't get out of.
But it has an escalator in it, an optional escalator that they can increase 5%. I think it's up to 5%.
Which contract?
The one
There's
that's
two.
okay, Jason, the one that I'm operating off, the one that I think is in place, because the fee is probably that. The new contract is, I don't think is enforced because we never pay them money, and it reduces fees a lot, and we're not paying the reduced fee. Right or wrong, I'm going with what appears that we're operating, which is the old contract.
Is that the one that expires in October?
Yes.
Yes.
And that's what we have at the.
And that's why we haven't done
Fighting
the
to
camera
get us
stuff
out.
free, because if we do that, as Michelle mentioned, it enforces the new contract of 2029. So we're doing everything we can to get out of the contract and get a new.
But if we just let it expire and then circle back and get the security system that we want, but we'll have to have it installed, starting installed in August, September. That's a separate committee.
So I have a question, it's not meant to offend anyone, because I'm new to this. I keep hearing questions about contracts and disputing about which contracts are right or wrong, whatever the case is. What's the process for us as a community or a board to agree on these contracts, agree on contracts that preset increases years ahead of time? What's that process like, and who's responsible for that?
So we go and bid out the contracts.
And you pre-approve them ahead 3-5 years down the road, I don't know what the price is gonna be?
Well, typically the way it's contract will say it's $1,000.
It's a contract. I've been here for a lot of other.
Okay, so there's standard money with an escalator. Comcast says.
So why can't we do the escalators? Don't you have leverage tonight?
It's gonna be very hard to find a vendor that doesn't have a regular rate increase included in a
If
contract.
you do a long-term contract, they usually have, almost every contract I ever saw, had, some vendors will lock it in, and some will have, we'll do 3%, but what you're locking in is 3%, and if it really goes to 5, well, then you win, and versus 1, then you lose. But that's how that typically works, and I don't think we would have been able to negotiate with Comcast, here's our contract, sign it or don't sign it.
Basically.
AT&T was the same because flipping those tables around, Silvano was sitting over there and he was arguing mightily for AT&T, and all of the cable companies that came in had the escalators on, because we did the review here, and I think, Larry, weren't you the one who put the, so I think you put the comparison table of what channels everyone was getting, what internet speed, what everything, and it was going out to vote through the community, and the reason we ended up with that was everyone was going nuts.
That's what they want.
What you're locking in is a known price now.
I'm just gonna make a statement at this point. Board is very defensive, obviously the finance committee is very defensive. I was blindsided like many when this budget came, that we were getting another increase after the last increase. I love when this board came into the community, because I felt like you all were very in tune with the community. I feel like you've lost maybe touch with the pulse of the community. There is no more kind of reaching out. I feel like a lot of almost steamrolling is happening. So maybe some more surveys, some more checking, some more seeing. I understand there's committees and not a lot of people are volunteering. I don't know what's happening then with that, we always have, but maybe
We have a lot of
sending out some more.
I think,
But, you know, just in-
I think what, I think Jackie, I think what the frustration is, and it's like, you know, obviously we had to have an increase in 2024, we had another identical increase in 2025, and then we're having another 6.53%. So it's not so much an excuse, but I think that the one,
I'm laughing.
but I think that, no, I think,
In the inside.
I think
Set an example.
I think
Show
that,
us.
I think that's just a frustration,
No way.
because there's a lot of financial strain out there today. So I think people are feeling, you know, listen, I came home from vacation to have a lovely $500 per month increase in my health insurance. Isn't that wonderful? And I already paid I pay $1,500, I pay $2,000. Okay, it is what it is. You gotta make it work. So I think maybe we'll try and see if there's some areas that could be reduced. because-
I have a suggestion about like, we'd like to reduce this number to this. And here's
Yeah,
why.
well, that's what you and I.
That'd be great, because I'm sitting,
Try and help. Try and.
The answer is we're in a contract.
Yeah.
Every.
But-
No, not everything.
But in fairness,
And
all
there's
those.
never a real answer on what the contract is.
No, now I'm gonna argue, wait, hang on, Mike, hang on. What I will say is, Mike, hang on a minute, I'm actually gonna be defending the board on this one. Yes, so let's try not to, we're laughing. But all of the major contracts that were signed were reviewed in this clubhouse, meeting notices were put out because surveys were put out. The internet cable one, which is expensive, but by the way, once it expires, maybe we only go to internet instead of getting the full month. All the landscaping ones were done in this room and then reviewed again, so people, Danny does Zoom for the landscaping committee meetings. They were discussed in the landscaping committee and again at the board meeting when they got approved with a ranked order for tree trimming, for mulch, for pest control, which is why they're separate now, for mowing. And we went through and everyone was complaining and putting in their preferences for the Heritage Company, for Yellowstone, for CPM. And we actually picked a different company, I think, first before they backed out and we ended up with CPM. We had all those discussions in here and people forget. And they had the opportunity to say whether or not we wanted to do 2 or 3 year contract.
I'm sorry, I don't forget, and you're mentioning 2 contracts, which I haven't brought up.
No,
I'm mentioning
I'm
the
not
other
wrong.
contracts that I have that are bringing up.
And there's been a shit show since the
Said we signed another contract or something.
That's not a real fair answer, that it's shit show, because we have to eventually stop the shit show. And when you have a budget, you have 2 choices, you can either just continue to increase your budget, or you can say, okay, costs have gone up here, where do I cut so I keep the same number? And I actually do have 9 clients that are HOAs that I have looked at, 8 of them have lowered their fees. So I know Cody can say that he has people that have raised them, I can tell you that people that have lowered them, and they're local, I don't know where Cody's. So, it doesn't sound.
But the other problem, I will say, is people in
So
the
this just
community.
but people can look at it different, one way or another, all I'm saying is that it just can't be the excuse of, well, prices are going up, let's just keep making them go up, because we don't have the ability to say, well, then let's cut some of the.
Does anybody
But
have
hold on.
a hard suggestion
Well,
on
yes,
the line?
yes,
that you'd
I
like to
do.
consider cutting? Yeah.
I do.
That'd be great.
I do. Cody,
Yeah.
question for you, sir. I'm looking at the irrigation repair and maintenance, and Doug is just, now I know we lost George, who was the, yeah, George. At a projected 49,000 of repair and maintenance and 36,000 in parts, that's almost 100 grand, man. I'm wondering, because.
My checks in there, it's $114,000.
Right, so I'm just curious if it's possible, Cody, that it might be less money to have like a pretty much full-time guy, a few hours a day. In other words, I think what's happening is possibly what's happening is that it's building up, and then Doug comes in and he's got a shit show, and he's got to run and do all these sections. And then all of a sudden we get these larger, would it be like more steady, Freddie, if we just have a guy here like 3-4 times a week, just
So
rocking along?
our current maintenance guy is full time. And
Okay.
anytime we get a work order.
I didn't even know we had a
regarding
maintenance guy.
Yes, anytime we get a work order regarding irrigation, he checks it first.
Angel,
Yep.
we can.
Angel,
If
okay.
he can repair it, he repairs it to save us the money. If not, I will tell you, you've had quite a few mainline breaks this year. You've had, the boxes where your shut offs are ripped and run over that we've had to repair. I will say, I have another property that was built by the same developer. They're having the same issues with irrigation.
Good old DR board.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, so, all right, just a thought, because, like.
So I mean, it's a good thought, it's just the age of the irrigation, the fact that the developer, from my understanding, doesn't know anything about irrigation, because I have a smaller property that has just as many issues as you guys do.
Half my backyard was never irrigated when they originally built it, so, but, we had a fund or something, they were able to build it out. I was like, why is half my lawn look great? Half looks like crap.
So reduce the number of wet checks. We have that. Okay. When we do, that's consequence is a reduction of the supplies of repair. Because when the wet check comes in, it comes on Saturday, we'll go to a certain area and put flags in where they don't work. And then go back and say, okay, that problem's gonna be changed, that problem's gonna be changed, that link's gonna be changed, whatever. And that's an area that's going up and up and up and up, because a lot of these just are recurring.
Yeah.
So.
I know, it's tough. Doug knows what he's doing, if you know that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just was wondering if we just had I thought we lost George and we had replaced him.
Back to Larry, if there's any lines on there, when people have suggestions, what we can reduce, the board is open to hearing, that's why we're having this meeting.
So what's
This community staffing a contract?
Yeah.
Is that an automatic rider on the contract, community staffing?
I don't know.
Because you increased it from 133 to 145.
That's not true, Jason, you gotta actually look at it. You gotta.
Projected year, I mean,
No,
133, you're projecting that.
actually, it's gone down, budgeted from 154, it's gone down, we're budgeting 145. So that budget line has gone down by 6%.
You can't compare budget to budget, you have to compare actual.
You said
you spent 133.
No, okay, Jason, I've explained this and explained, let me just do it one more time. The projected year-end actual is simply a linear projection from the column, which is 2025 actual of $99,000. If you project that over an additional 3 months, we're projecting it'll be $132,000. The 145, I was told that's what the number should be for next year, given whatever we're doing. But we're not saying we have not spent 133. We might not spend 133. But if we want to change the 145, we can figure that out. I just don't know what that does to the services that we get. We talked about that that's a number I don't have access to. How many hours we're doing, what the staff is paid. So
there's a suggestion. Another suggestion is the emergency fund of 12,000.
So what are you looking for that number to be?
But
I don't know, is it under contract or is it not? under
Emergency fund?
Community staff.
I think in theory, I don't know if we have a contracted number of hours that we have staff on site. I know we have 40 hours a week for Angel. How many hours a week are you?
15 and Chastity's 29.5.
So.
And it's a budget, at a budget meeting, we don't know what that equates to as a dollar.
Sorry,
It's the same.
As a budget, in a budget meeting, we don't know what those hours equate to.
like, I mean, I could break down how much I make for you guys.
I'm not asking how much you make, I'm asking what we pay. So we're
Larry,
asking
but
about
so far it's $99,000, about $100,000.
Larry has accurately.
Again, so if 99,000 for 9 months would equate to, on a living, approximately 100,
Yeah, so it's approximately $133,000.
and we're expecting that to go up to 145,000 based on our estimate or based on the contracts increasing it to 140.
I don't think
There's
they're necessarily
not
going
an
to.
expected fixed amount of hours, it's based on how many hours we saw was beneficial. Based on complaints or positive feedback from residents on what hours Chastity and Cody are on.
We're trying to make this come out for an emergency.
The times that we have you scheduled, right, we know what that will cost. Are we budgeting for additional time that we have them scheduled for, or are we budgeting them for the time that we have them scheduled?
So with this, it's probably budgeted for additional time because there have been multiple times that myself and Chastity have to property outside of our hours, which you get billed for. I will do my job for free.
So you guys are budgeted roughly 40 hours, like you can't get the job done in 40 hours?
There's emergencies,
For emergencies,
after hours.
which is billed at a higher rate than what
That's an example that you need to.
Turning off the sprinkler system.
I mean,
Like the surf was catching on fire.
Loosely,
Just to put this in perspective, it's, the budgeted number is $1,000 a month above the projected cost that we expect, that Kitty expected at the end of the year. So we're budgeting an additional $1,000 a month beyond that.
So that's 10 hours roughly, if you want to just go with $100
I
an hour.
understand they were working with smaller numbers, I understand, but every $1,000 adds up.
I know, I'm just putting it for.
You have $1,000 also scheduled for an emergency. So there's $24,000, we're up to $2,000. If we went down line by line, maybe we get to $3,000. Maybe we get to $4,000.
So Jason, that's why we're
Is
here.
that what we're asking?
That's why we're here.
That's why we're here.
So then, okay, so then,
If you wanna take the emergency fund out, you can zero that out, Larry will do it right here.
I can do it right now and you can see
So
exactly
make
what.
suggestions, that's what we're asking for.
okay, so I'm suggesting community staffing shouldn't be raised, but I'm not the only person. So that's what I don't understand. But if you're asking for my suggestions, yes, I would eliminate a lot of this. I think a lot of them are ridiculous, but I also thought a lot of expenses that we spent last year were ridiculous. So I mean, it's not a point, what all I'm saying is that we can't just go by the excuse of, it goes up, prices go up. Because when prices do go up, you're right, but then people make decisions on whether they wanna pay those new prices or where they make cuts.
Let me go back to point number 2. This budget is an attempt to accurately reflect expenses to occur with our current level of services. If you want to reduce services or you want to get rid of something, I'm not saying
But that's
Jason.
not.
No,
but
I'm not
that's
saying you should spend it or you should not spend it.
But that's not-
Basically, it's just handing you a budget and the community decides what they want to do. If you want to whack all the lines, be my guest.
But that's not, but what you're just saying is reflect a current level of services. The current level of services you're telling me for the community staffing is 133. You're budgeting 145, that's just one line.
Agreed.
If you want me, okay,
So.
what would you like to do? What would you like to do?
Everybody in here is getting really defensive. I mean, it's really confrontational.
What do you want to do?
I've already suggested, if you
You
want
want
to
to
go
change it,
line by
but
line.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I don't know.
Now we got something. Do you want me to do it?
Instead, that's not.
He wants to change it to 132, that's what he wants.
So what if you kept our budget flat to last year, what are the risks?
You're gonna end up running in a deficit for next year.
What's that?
You're running a deficit.
So what is
Well,
that?
it's no cost, so you guys said you need it. We'll have money to money.
Well, we,
Hey, guys.
it's open up because when we're under that, we can spend the money.
Hey, guys, we're not really solving anything. Can we start talking intelligently, please? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Okay, so for example,
Hey!
Cody, I have a question. Okay, the one,
Just to off that up, why don't we take it in the community services and put it down to 135 and show it out. Okay, we'll see a practical application.
135.
okay, Cody, I have a question for you.
Put that 0.
In the one,
It's $2.60 a household.
Put that to 0, just for giggles.
But what
The reserve, put the reserve to 0, just for giggles.
You wanna put the
No.
reserve to?
No, emergency fund.
Okay,
Don't get very.
Everything's 0 last. We get everything for free. So.
you move the reserve to zero, I'll move, and then you guys can move.
Yeah, exactly.
Have Larry kick around anymore.
So changing it to 135 and then dropping the emergency fund to 0, taking people who are in the traditional funds, $6 a month.
Great.
Keep going.
Cody, question for you. I'm trying, and again, Larry, I'm trying to understand it, like, on the one maintenance common area, right? Like, we have 95 per,
Wait, which line?
common area, contract service, so contract service.
Common area, 145,000?
Correct. So just take me through that. So, approved budget was 141. We're at 95 as of the end of September.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because the financials were wrong in September, so,
Okay,
that number should be quite a bit higher.
it should be higher.
Yeah, because they.
Yeah, it's $18,000 difference. That's what I was trying to figure out.
Okay, listen, I just plugged in the numbers as well.
Yeah, that's okay.
The number of $95,000, when I looked at the financials, there was 0 in a number of the areas that shouldn't have been 0. So I got to Cody and he said, oh, yeah, there was stuff that was recoded to the wrong spots. But I can't just arbitrarily change the financials. So that's just, that number's wrong. We're gonna be pretty close to the 141 budget because that's a contract.
Okay, okay, got it. All right, so basically, now, do we have an escalator clause in that one?
It's,
Okay, fine, that's it. You answered my question.
yeah, that number should be what the contracted amount is.
Okay, fine. Do we still have that, who's our pest control guy, the
Coastal.
coastal, we still got
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's $14 a month.
he does a pretty good job.
No, he does a good job, but the
Yeah.
picture's coming around.
I know we have the power wash. My last neighborhood, we were all responsible for the sidewalks that were adjacent to our driveway. Just throwing it out there as something that maybe we have to do our roads, we have to do our own
I'll check the
driveway.
documents, I might, because I know on the property, I heard that they were responsible for the sidewalks, you know, that were at the house. It just depends on what the documents say, it might say that the association is responsible, it might actually say the owners are responsible.
I'm pretty confident that the association is responsible for the physical sidewalk, because it's come up with a couple individuals. And with regard to who are responsible and with the sales as well. So, in order to make any changes to any of the documents, one, we have to have a forum. I remember it started at 90 homes. And then for any of the changes that have been recommended as far as other.
Yeah, any
Yeah, that 2/3 that we get forum.
Do you do, I never knew we did it twice a year. I know we do it before Thanksgiving, more of the holiday, but I don't remember.
What?
Pressure. Yes, I'm like, do we have to do it twice a year? Mowers go right back over and rinse it out, so. It looks good for a week. Yeah, I don't know.
I think I'm
When's the other month?
You could try to renegotiate it, but right now, it's not.
Yeah.
Just like everything, unfortunately, in HOA, yeah.
Jason, what?
The common area for the internet,
Common area what?
phone and internet.
Yep.
Is $7,600.
Yeah, I talked about that earlier, so.
That is your internet and phone for the clubhouse and all of your gates.
It's still useful. What, I don't know, what is it exactly useful?
So you know how you have your cameras there to reach the guy, the security guy, you gotta actually have, they gotta do a telephone line.
You got a landline.
to reach them.
But
Even if it
the-
doesn't work, we still have to pay that bill because it's a utility bill that we have signed a contract.
It.
And again, if we go through and update these cameras, we're stuck in a contract with internet connection on all the gates.
The internet connection is for,
Your main gates, all the gates, your clubhouse.
so who's that contract for?
I know, yeah, no, that one's Comcast.
So we pay Comcast a separate amount of $7,639 on.
Well, we're budgeting that, I think the number may come in, I don't understand, but from the contract, it's close to that.
And that's not included in our Comcast contract for the.
No, it's
There's separate bills we get, that's why it's really confusing to look at, be happy to, you can take a look at the bill, it's hard to understand. But that's the common area, which is the internet in the clubhouse, the TV service in the clubhouse, the gate, internet for the five, we have 5 gates, 5 internet.
Has Comcast explained that to us when we asked Comcast? Why are we paying 2 separate bills?
Well, it's 2 separate bills, because it's 2 separate areas of the contract, 2 separate.
It's 2 separate contracts, 2 separate accounts, just like FPL. You think all of our bills are in one account, we have 13 different accounts with FPL because of the street lights, the common areas, the gates, the irrigation. And no, I cannot combine them into one. I'm trying it with another property that has 7 accounts for that. And it's gonna stay a separate one.
Are you charging now, aren't you charging now for the clubhouse use?
We're just charging the cleaning fee.
So do you make any income from that, or the?
No, but
that
It goes to the cleaning.
go up?
Literally.
Oh.
That's right. It's getting.
So why are there some numbers that we're spending, what we're spending now going down, the trash removal?
Explain how it went down.
So it says, okay, so it says we spent $28.64 on 9 months, extrapolate that on.
I was curious about it too, we had a dumpster for the playground. So I don't want to budget for another dumpster once we get rid of the playground.
Depends on the insurance, yeah.
That's a big one, you guys are playing out the big line.
Well, no, and that's why I said for the line items, so everyone understands, because we have champagne taste on a beer budget in this community. This is the problem.
That's how I got my money.
Any expenditure in the future should really be considered.
Holiday lighting, that's under contract?
Yeah, it expires in 26.
It's gonna go up.
Hopefully there expires at the end of 26, just a little bit of color on that. Some of the things that we've looked at, and are not obscure, even when we're looking at the contracts for new properties. The annual servicing cost could potentially be cheaper, that's, it could, we haven't done that, we're too far out to know exactly what that price would be.
If we could have done it before, it was cheaper, yes, that was the price.
But assuming we say like 50%.
Right.
Even if you prorate that for part of the year, you save about $2,000 for that final quarter, if we are able to get out of it at the end of the year.
Yeah, I did not try to budget whether we change vendors or not, I just don't, I don't know whether we're gonna get out of it or not.
I don't think we should either, but that would be something that would be more reflective. We are able to, 27, 6 months. The biggest changes are gonna come potentially when you're able to renegotiate contracts and decide what services. Right now, kind of just a play from
And I know people are frustrated with contracts, but I think it would be irresponsible of the organization not to sign multi-year contracts, because A, you don't lock in prices, and B, you're potentially changing vendors, and no one wants to be redoing contracts, you don't want to do it the first time, so if you had to do it every year, it'd be a nightmare. Do we?
That's 2020.
I thought it was 7 years that we signed,
It was
5 year,
So.
so we get another shot at that.
Do we have a credit with the attorneys? Why are we in a
So that's what's hard to figure out, but apparently what happened is the attorney got paid twice in the switch over from Castle to Advantage. And so we had a big credit sitting at the attorney that we were just working on now. So that's why that number was negative. I've been trying to track that down for several months.
So do we expect to spend 8,000 next year or 12,000 being?
Well, you heard Cody say that every lien we put on is $475, and I'm kind of mentally doing that math. Our attorney is $395 an hour, I think.
$375.
Okay, $10 each row. So, yeah, I mean, I would actually, I had that number higher and the board asked me to lower it. I think we're gonna spend more.
Have we ever considered a attorney that works on commission for the money that we get back?
You know, everybody does that.
I don't.
Do you know somebody who does that?
I commission's pretty common in law, so, no, I don't. But I
Usually-
understand the
Yeah.
question.
No, but I'm saying if someone knows an HOA attorney, that would be awesome. I just don't know them.
Usually attorneys that are doing liability lawsuits, stuff like that, they'll work on a cut, but regular business attorneys.
That's what I usually do.
I got an interesting question. Just a quick question thought. So I was just, for giggles, just forgot when Comcast expired. I just went on AT&T. So if I was an individual, Comcast screws you up because you put your address in, it says you already have a package. I put my address in. So right now, internet only, right? People can add what they want, but most people have streaming TVs and stuff like that. So if you really want the channel, you can add it. AT&T is willing to buy out any contract you have as an individual. So if you were with Comcast or somebody else, and I was an individual, AT&T would buy out my contract and you can get internet only 1 gigabit for $55 a month. So it's a deep thing just to run the special for an individual. So is that a thought, right? You don't necessarily want to pay money to get out of a contract, but would AT&T be interested in our business that they would be willing to basically buy out Comcast's contract? And then you could turn around and say, well, okay, I want internet only, which would then basically, if someone wants cable or something else, they can pay for it as an add-on, but it would drop that cable and TV bill by like $40 a month.
So Joe, when we did that exercise and there was a committee that did it, we narrowed it down to several, and I think the top 3 ended up being Comcast, Hotwire, and AT&T. AT&T has some, albeit outdated, that they would need to make updates to. They do have some of the infrastructure in place already.
No, I know, I was part of that study too, I know, that was way back when they did it.
But, so, and I think you said it earlier, so you remember when we had meetings and the amount of people that showed up because this board, pre-Tony, but this board was very much in favor of the model that you just described. And I think what people maybe don't understand is that we vote based on what the committees and what everybody brings to us.
Right.
I say that to me, we went down that road.
But the point is you got a lot of people here now saying the HOA is too high. Well, you know what, and I have to parent Jason here a little bit. You gotta make a hard, some people in this community are gonna have to learn to make a hard choice. You're either gonna, you know, the insurance may come back and say that half of that money is because of the gym and the playground. And I know Larry uses the gym and other people use the gym. But the real question is as a community, is that an expense that we wanna pay to keep our HOA higher? People are gonna have to make the decision and help guide the board. So that's the thing, say, hey, if you really want this number to really change, you're gonna be internet only and it may be a different provider.
100%, and I think, I do think it's important to note that as Larry, and Tony, when they come to us with these recommendations, I think Larry was probably the most vocal about what is it gonna do for our insurance, have a playground out there, and so those aren't things that were not considered, those absolutely weren't considered, and I think one thing to keep in mind as well, as far as the playground and the gym goes, is our documents require those to be part of the amenities, and so we were actually non-compliant when the playground wasn't functioning. Now, you could say, well, we had non-compliant for so many years, why can't we just be non-compliant for more years? It's just a liability, right? There's just risk there associated with that. And so you can look at that a couple different ways.
Well, but Jill, just as an example, right, you know, because my wife's been coaching for a long time. The gym is wonderful, but with the amount of, and I know some things, because, you know, we talked at the social, we're done at a discount. When they break, they get expensive. The Peloton was procured at a very steep discount. The screen's gonna cost us $400 to $800 plus repair costs, right? So it's great now while everything works, but it's also gonna become a money pit. Do we really need all the cardio? What defines a gym for this community? We went, Champaign did an awesome gym. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but that was someone's embodiment of a gym. A Smith machine, dumbbells, the other thing, and a balance could be a perfect gym.
But I also don't think that's a fair statement, because you had a whole committee that did how many, you spent probably almost a year, right? With different iterations, with all the community survey, which had pretty good participation. I mean, I didn't want the Peloton, I had never used the gym, so I mean, I'm just saying that.
Well, no, you got the thing, but people in the community need to understand that, and that's gonna become a cost later on for their choice now. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying, when people start saying it's expensive, why drive it? But then the reserve number is higher than it may not need to be.
You're kind of arguing, keeping the cost source of reserve at the level it is now. We're doing the same thing, we're kicking the can down the road. We don't do something now, it's gonna cost us more later on.
Right.
We're already doing it. So we're not putting enough money into the reserve as it is.
Right.
And the last reserve study had $240,000, I think it was.
I think it started out a lot higher.
It was at 275, and I think it is worth saying that the approach that Larry and I thought was most prudent, while we personally may not have agreed with it. And so we were very blunt in saying last year that the amount that was budgeted, so the massive increase last year was strictly due to increasing the reserve fund amounts, right? And that was not even at the level that we really should have funded. And the reason we dropped it by almost $100,000 was because we stripped out that $2.8 million from the reserve fund and said, okay, if we strip that amount out, how much should we then be contributing in order to get back on track? We specifically stated a year ago that dues would need to increase again this year. We were being including, because my whole soapbox was that we can only kick the can for so long. I understood that these increases are difficult, and so, but we're hurting ourselves down the road. We kick the can as long as we possibly could. This number is still not enough. I'll say it again. This number does not include the road work, which is a massive line item, and hopefully
Should I ask earlier? Should I ask about the holiday lights that aren't worth $15,000?
It's under contract, once the contract is.
You should have asked earlier. This is a day late and an hour short now, because last year you did say that. Last year you said.
Yes, we did, Jack.
We don't want this.
We don't want
Now
to.
the holiday is HOA.
Not true. Not true. How much can we do? How much can
Can be approved, just switch from whatever.
From their developer to Lane,
So they have not had a posting thing, but they get no cable, no internet, they're over $400.
over $400, and they get nothing but comp sharing. So you're putting out more.
But are they higher than 460 something? Are they higher than?
Well, what I will say for apples to apples, wait, hang on, my parents. My parents live in Eagle Marsh, they have a lifeguard gate for 12 hours a day. They have 2 clubhouses with pools, tennis courts, a golf course, they get mulch, internet, and they're paying about about $440 a quarter. Not a quarter, $440 a month.
What neighborhood?
What?
How much extra did they have to put in the beginning?
$500.
In the beginning, they bought the home.
Yeah, $500. I know, I moved my parents down.
But do they have sprinklers?
Oh, yeah, they got sprinklers and everything else. No. And they get their bushes cut front and back, all on.
Do they have a preserve?
Yep, they live on.
We're the biggest one, Mark.
Yeah, I know, but they have some concerns, but I'm just saying, so there's all different aspects of how it's managed, and how they do it, and I'm not arguing good or bad, I'm just saying, I think everyone is, we're not getting the message out to everybody about where all those costs are. We try, we put it out there, but people don't pay attention, but then certain percentages care.
And I don't think last year when we discussed adding the playground and discussed adding the gym, the additional costs of the insurance. So.
I don't know about that.
I don't think there was a dollar value.
I don't think there was a dollar value, it was a cost.
Snowing.
And both of them went over budget, if I'm not mistaken, too. And one of them was pulled up early in the reserve study too. Right, so that's three things that we just said that were discussed last year that actually weren't correct.
What do we want to do?
What's a budget? I didn't need, hey, I didn't need much of this.
I did last year, yes,
Okay, so.
but you can't cut the budget for the playground, the playground's done.
One of 320 households. Does the other 319 households?
I am going to put, since you wanted me to make a blatant statement like that, I'm going to guess that if you were to pass 320 homes, you get more than one that would have disagreed. What you just said, the one that disagrees with what we did. Two, look at that, we've just doubled. Well, that's how you manipulate numbers, we just doubled the numbers. I mean, we did that to me last year too, you wanted to isolate me last year too.
Okay.
In the meeting last year,
So
you said, Jason wants to raise the dues, let's tell everybody that Jason wants to raise the dues. You said, not anybody else, and you called me out.
What I think.
That's one person again.
Jason, come on board, Jason, on board.
No.
Run to the board, put your mouth.
I don't want to run for the.
The other thing I wanna say is, so some people were thinking,
You want me to sit there and do nothing too? Because I can run for the board and do nothing.
it's budget.
Okay, so I'm gonna put a motion on the board, that we are going to stop
I have more
talking about.
questions on the budget.
Oh, bring up to Cody, we are not required to let you speak as long as you want to speak, especially with the end, which talk. So we are going to.
I just don't want to get out, don't yell at me, don't yell at me, don't yell at me. Don't yell at me. You're 100% right, I deserve respect too.
Speak and take their turn. Is there any more suggestions, again,
So just
recommendations on any line items on the budget?
going forward, maybe a thing is to put in context for people, just for all of us, right? Is someone says, hey, we are required by covenants to do these things. This is what it's going to cost. Here's what it's costing you. Are you really wanting to do it? Because here's what your HOA is going to be. Because if someone turned around and said to this whole community, hey, here's $100,000, we're required to do it, maybe there would have been a different conversation, but people don't understand that list that Larry put up of here's all our requirements going funded. Here's how badly we're underfunded in the reserves. Here's what's gonna happen. Hey, we're still not putting enough money in the reserves. We're still underfunded for the roads, right? Let everyone understand what that cost is going forward, right? Because we may end up with a special assessment at the end of the day to get the roads. And from when I bought my condo in California, we had a $5,000 assessment for one property we looked at. The first thing our realtor said to us was, don't touch that property, because if they can't budget right and they need a special assessment, you don't know what else they did wrong. And so we're all worried about raising fees and stuff. That special assessment drives a whole nother conversation. So we need to figure something out, and it may mean changing the covenant, so we don't have to maintain certain things anymore that we're currently obligated to. That's all I'm saying.
You're 100% right, our property values are low. So that is 100% right, but if I wanna ask Larry, you mentioned before that the professional services is what you wanna put in the 3,500 for what exactly?
The study of the
Road study,
But the road
We need
study is for the reserve fund?
the road study is to try to determine the current status of our roads, what areas need, and approximate the lifetime we have on different areas of the road, so that we can feed it back into the next reserve study, which will happen in another couple of years. And at that point, we can have a better idea of what we really need to fund. So instead of raising, maybe, I'm just throwing this out, right, making up the number, but maybe to get to what we need to redo all roads for parts of $150,000 per year, which is $37 a month per home. Okay, that's a big number, but if we do the road study, we find out that, maybe we can do it for $100,000 a year contribution, that's a better number. So that's why we should do the road study.
I understand, and again, I understand that we're dealing with tenants here when we're talking about numbers. But if that's for the reserve study that we might or might not do, couldn't that come out of the reserve fund and not budget for it?
It's it's an operating item.
But an operating item that we're not gonna do, and we might or might not.
But I'm not gonna.
But it's for the reserves.
Whatever you want.
Okay.
I don't think that's true, but I'm gonna let other people decide. It's not my area to decide.
It makes sense, it would be a reserve expense at this time.
If it's for the reserve study, I would think it's a reserve expense.
The road reserve, the road study is not for your reserves, that is what the reserve study is for. The road study is basically gonna tell us, you have 5 years, you gotta know everything is. It's basically gonna give us a time frame of how long these roads are gonna last, where it's the worst, where we need to focus. It's not to go for and help us fund our reserves, it's to basically be like, in 7 years, you're gonna spend $3 million and repave every inch of road.
When is
That's
that,
what the reserve,
when is that required that we do it?
I'm sorry?
When is that required that we
I
do it?
mean, there's not a statute requirement to do it, it's just every association I have has a line item to have a road study.
The reason that we're doing it is because we need to start increasing these reserves.
You haven't done one every year, that's the thing.
No, you do it usually every 3 to 5 years, just like your reserves.
We've never had one done to my knowledge.
So that's why we need a road study.
But that's, that information you just said, no one has said that before, we've never done one before, and we need one.
That's
But that makes
sense?
But that makes sense, but
I said-
that's
we
part
did
of
say
the
it last
problem here, it's like, you guys are doing a lot of hard work, and I'm so grateful. Like, I'm not sitting there, but the tone is so harsh, right? If you had said, you guys have never done a road study before, and you need one.
I'm sorry, it's that item in my.
But it's just, it's a symbol of kind of how this is going.
Studies in the last 2 years, plenty of discussion.
I think we talked about it last time, maybe about here, yeah. What I'm saying is, that's why we budget these items, we don't just, I don't think anybody in the finance committee sat around and said, how can we screw the community? Let's see additional places we can spend money. If we get rid of that, we get rid of it.
No, but when you say now that it's never been done and we need to do it, it makes a lot more sense.
Within the next 4 years, we're all gonna pay an extra $40.
No, that's the reserve,
No.
it's just a road study that says, no.
So we're gonna pay $40 a month just for a reserve, plus all the other accelerating costs that we don't have any.
Getting up there.
So, yeah, I mean, where we should be approaching $500 shortly.
For what you can get, that's it.
Yeah, there's new properties here that are less HOAs that have their
Does anybody else have any specific line items they'd like to consider?
I have one, just ridiculous.
We can't do anything until these contracts are.
I understand it, but just for example, tree trimming, 40K a year, I guarantee you it doesn't even do that. Mulching, 20K a year, doesn't.
Well, mulch is contract.
I'm just saying, we're gonna get through these contracts and we're gonna start making better decisions here soon. Lighting, the lighting for the holidays, an extra 16K. If it was me trying to make sure my family had enough money to get
their bills paid, I would get rid of the tree trimming, the mulching, and the holiday lighting, and I would save my family an extra $20 or $30 a month, and I wouldn't have any HOA increases. There's a hard cost.
And then, fine, the suggestion that, nobody's arguing. I'm suggesting that we set the forms for
Joe.
Joe said, has anybody gone in and renegotiated with the current contracts with other companies that might take over our contracts?
Joe, the AT&T one was just an oddball one because it was on there, and as an individual, they said they buy out an individual contract. Now, whether or not they did that with Comcast.
I completely understand, I'm just saying, but is that being done? I mean, in insurance, my homeowner's insurance is on there.
Can I
It's
just,
like shopping.
can I respond to
So-
your comments? So I wouldn't want mulch taken out.
Okay.
Just because I think that I can't count on other people to make sure it looks the way it's supposed to look. So mulch would concern me. I'm totally with you on the lighting. You want your holiday, ready, do it yourself. But mulch and some of the maintenance would go, that concerns me a little bit.
But Stacy, a lot of homes don't mulch. So it looks
That
worse
mulch
when they're just homes.
It would look even worse at the common area.
No, this is only common area mulch. This is nothing to do.
Right, that's what I'm saying, yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah.
Right. I just didn't want my neighbors.
Is there another line that you like to reduce or change?
So if you have a suggestion, if you wanna change tree trimming, suggest it, we can do it, right? That's right. I need hard suggestions, I don't want you to say, well, I want you to, not my fault.
I'm just thinking of ways we can
Sure.
get back to where.
Why don't you suggest?
I'm going to. Right, I'm trying to do it.
I think he just did suggest it, so Larry, this is an example when you spoke of earlier. Let's not tree truck,
Just get rid of tree trimming.
What happens is,
I will tell you, my wife will tell you, it's a little attention the way it is.
In a few years, you'll spend $100,000 for it. I had a property that missed tree trimming for a few years. Pretty penny we were not budgeted for, and now they're over budget in tree trimming because they weren't doing it regularly. I have properties that.
We need to trim our trees, but
once a
I
year.
believe that there's contractors in the area that can beat this price by 40% or 50%.
So
Can you bring me that information?
Yeah, I was watching. I know local, small local companies that are begging to get in there every day.
Send me an email with their information.
We're gonna treat the loan, get ready, no, it's only we find each other. Yeah, it just hasn't happened.
It's not. I keep saying sure to separate from all that.
Okay. Ryan.
Comes to contract, because everybody's talking about contract negotiations, last time we had a contract negotiation for people and everything, we had moved and it's gonna find similar levels or there'd be better internet, less money.
Way less.
And this place was packed out, and you got it, and everybody was treating the Xfinity guys like professional athletes, lined up, high-fiving them. So, you have to really think about this when it comes up again, right? We had to move, or had to move, and we would save substantial money, and we didn't do it because we didn't want to do that. That was a good decision.
And it was a loud.
That was the one that was gonna have the rep on site, right? The whole setup for a year or whatever the company was. I think that.
They haven't delivered the promise about increasing the speeds and the technology upgrades and everything they were promising to the
So
So I sit here tonight, and I see, people who are make it for whatever reason, other people couldn't, they sick at home, whatever, I get that. So tonight, are you finalizing the budget on what is?
We do not have.
So the motion I'm making is for this moment is, it sounds like we have a couple community members who may have vendors or ideas or resources to where we may have a cost savings. So please bring those to Cody. And he can disseminate that and work with the finance committee or landscape committee or where be it. The motion I'm making is to end the discussion on the budget And, we will have to schedule a second budget meeting, which will be before the annual meeting in December. And that's when we would plan to have the final numbers for approval.
Is there a way to highlight like the hard numbers, what is an absolute, is not changing, and then
I
what?
thought I did that.
No,
Item through, you can't stop doing that.
Yeah,
Those
so
proposed numbers,
so under contract service, those are the items that we have under contract, and then maybe if there's a way, it's not really on here.
There's other items for contract.
Yeah, there's other items that are contracted that we could highlight, but for the most part,
So is
the
the
most
request
part of
to,
contracts are
you know,
under.
resend this out? The problem, I mean, it's gonna be expensive to resend this out. What did it cost us to send this out for?
We don't have to send it.
We don't have to send it out for two times.
We will just post notice that we will be discussing a new proposed budget. We will provide copies at the meeting. Once it's passed, we will mail it out with the.
So how about if I put the category in bold, of the items that are, just the category, description category, or description column, of the ones that are largely non. Does that work?
Yeah, nice.
Your fixed versus variable.
And maybe we can look at concept.
And then on 26 proposed budget, I bolded the ones that we called in this particular meeting. Color doesn't work very well, so.
Can I ask you a question? With regards to these contracts that go for however many years, is there any way to show? And maybe that's too much detail on this, like when one is in and.
There's, you guys have a coding, you guys keep a vendor tracker where it's got the date of the agreement, the term of the agreement. the
Yeah, I will, when they got the for Larry.
And that's a
start
very,
the discussion.
that's a very common thing that.
Oh, I've got it all written down, what the increases, percentage wise, what the cost of the actual dollar is, when the contract ends.
Is there
If
any,
it's automatic renewal, all of it.
is there any downside of having that on the website?
Always publish it before. Oh, I'll take that.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is to stay this budget discussion. We will look at what edits can be made based on feedback from residents, and then, it will be up for review and approval before the annual meeting. On the same day as the report. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we're closing the budget meeting and moving on to the board of directors meeting.
So 8:27 is the adjournment of the meeting.
Well,
You get wrong with, where you actually did ask those questions. Alright, so let's start. Call the order at 8:27, roll call. Vice President.
Michelle, do you want the president to say, review the minutes? Tuesday, 10. 2025.
Nice power chair. I will put the motion on.
One conversation, please.
I will put the motion on the floor to approve the minutes as written for June 10th.
Second.
Tony second. All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved unanimously. Okay, report. Yes.
I will fly through this for those of you who are still hanging out. As I promised in June, my manager's report's a bit longer this time. I already covered how much we got to the attorney, so I'll skip that. Alrighty, as usual, answer calls and phone number, or answer calls and emails from residents, complaints, concerns, anything, work orders of that nature. Handle the invoices, as I discussed with Becky earlier, I have 100+ letters that are going out for violations, dirty roofs, driveways, mailboxes, garbage being on the side of their house. Things that have been done that weren't approved by the art. Communicated with the board regarding the leaks in the kitchen, gym, and bathroom. The ladies' bathroom received, I think 3 proposals to replace. 2 companies submitted 2 options for replacing. I also got 2 proposals for repair. Scheduled the budget meeting for tonight. Worked with the board of directors and legal counsel regarding collections and vendor contracts. Assisted the finance committee with obtaining increases from the vendors for I have those contracts for you. For the 2026 budget, I've been updating the owners portal with, we got our weekly updates, I've been putting the financials up there. Assisted with, I can't remember his name, Alan Bozier's on property for us, maintenance, and I have been out to check them, we're checking them regularly to make sure nothing's overgrowing on them. Met with multiple contractors regarding a possible turnaround. I know when you leave the main gate, there's a big piece of grass that keeps getting run over by our school buses. I am working on getting a little concrete pad put there to keep us from having to replace grass every so often. Unfortunately, I have been told that is county property, so I'm doing digging to see if that is true. If it is, we have to get the county involved to have that turnaround installed. If not, I just gotta get a civil engineer to give us a report that it's gonna be good. Contractors to obtain proposals for the pool deck repair. There's a few loose and sinking pavers out there. I got proposals. So I had 4 companies come out, 3 of them said they just wanted to replace the deck, they wouldn't bother with the proposal. I have a company who also submitted for roof, $750 to come out and fix the loose pavers out at the pool and right here in front of the office. Help schedule with the holiday light install, the annual flowers that were just installed, scheduling with the annual meeting, which is December 11th. Assisted residents with art applications, we actually had, I think, like 9 of them today. Obtaining contract renewals and extensions for our visitors, assisted with the CPA documents and getting our audits completed, assisted residents with clubhouse rentals, reported date issues to appropriate vendor, either Bartlett or Vera. I'm sure there's more I've done since then, but that's a rough idea of what I've been doing. Not to mention Chastity has been fabulous in helping us out in the office. Yes.
So this is why I get fancy, Jackie, because he wants us to cut back on the hours for community staffing. But this shit didn't get done before it had a fingertip, we got one thing. So I'm sorry, we didn't choose it, my bad.
Right, we also sat there and said, we don't do anything.
When you set me up for you get what you pay for, I was gonna try to apply it to you, and I just said. Such a soft.
That was a good.
Such a soft. One of the solutions could be, one of the options is that poor Larry gets dumped on. So, but we can go get a private company with a budget, and then everybody can.
I don't believe that was the question, it was why did it be raised?
No, that would cost money, but that would cost money.
Professional learner?
Me?
Careful.
I got it.
Better get Google review than possible.
Well, cash. So I spent a lot of time in the past month or 2 going through the bank account, reconciling all these approved invoices to our actual non-import checks. So all things are fine, to a couple of adjustments to the reserve. Went through that to make sure that all the money that was spent for the gym was out there properly. There was only one mistake, and we put the money back in the reserve that should have been. There was some labor charges that should have been there, so that was all cleaned up. And they just, right now, our reserve actually for what it's supposed to be this year is good. We're right up to where we're supposed to be with money. We put in $35,000 in today, so our $15,000 per month is up to spec. And if you know about this, earlier in the year, we had to take $100,000 out of the budget, out of the reserve, to pay our operating expenses. That's all been paid back. And we had to take about 40 out like a month ago, and that's all we paid back. But because of the swings in our assessment, that money that we're counting on and seeing in our financials, just lots of money cash is just there. Versus that, it's, we're doing like I said, they have done a good job in getting 4 or 5 names walked out of us. They were looking at their teachers. And, but they've got somebody to pay back and then they just go back to their old ways. But again, that's the so the reserves are in good shape. Our financials are the 9 months of this plan. Our deficit is we're in a surplus through 9 months, but it's banking about a couple of $1,000. The one thing I wanted to see you do, we need to look at our bank accounts and see about maybe getting better interest rate on the reserves. But that may be investments, I don't know what our flexibility is on investing.
Come see me on Monday, we'll talk about the options. I've got some options already laid out for this.
So we're getting like, some people don't see the interest, but the interest goes into the reserve. That's why you're not seeing on financial statements. So we're getting like $1,100 a month on interest off our reserve.
That reserve, the 180, I'm just not this reserve, but I heard Larry mention something like 700 something, did you say?
The 180 is what we put in every year.
Okay, and the other money we have somewhere.
700 is so the 700 we'll add 180 to it, so then we'll have.
We have $745,000.
Okay, yeah, that's what I want. I knew that was there for the bidding stuff.
Which, Russell is that said, last year we had a conversation about we're still including it's just it is what it is. You're taking it up by $5,000 really is keeping it flat for the most part. That's
Tony, probably before that question, are we all square with our prior management company or?
No, definitely.
I'm seeing Monday.
Some issues.
Yeah, since that's still with the attorney, I don't want to bring it up. Yeah, I'm seeing Monday, we'll talk about that. I'll be here around 11:30.
No, but I'm more concerned with that end.
No, last thing I want to say is that we, like we said earlier,
Yeah.
Our one so tax returns are filed, so we're all expecting that Jerry will be doing 25 and it should be filed on time, which it's taken years to get the work out of this.
Yeah, thank you to Tony because we're Cody, but I'm gonna give Tony the
That's
first
fine.
credit because we've spent multiple years behind since I joined the board in 2021. So this is actually a really big feat.
We were in much better financial shape than we've ever been.
There's only rookie of the year.
Yeah.
Any committee reports, Danny?
I think for landscaping, we're just, gonna get through the end of the year because we extended out a bunch of contracts. We're looking at next year for those contracts. With the end of the year stuff, the holiday lights are up, the mulching we're trying to get done next week, and then the flower things we're trying to resolve those, but other than that, I think landscaping is on our.
Good, beautiful.
Thank you.
Can Finance Committee give an update?
Do you really want to talk more, Larry?
Thank you. So finance months of hard work, working on the budget, and again, looking into moving the money around. I want the finance committee also involved in that.
Okay.
Best interest.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to new business, we have to ratify the unanimous consents. The CPA, Jerry Jackson, for the audits for 24, 25, and 26. Contract extension and renewal for light doctors, contract and extension for renewal for coastal pest control, and contract extension and renewal for onto greener pastures, which is irrigation debris.
Do you have to ratify the extension of CPM, or is that easy? Because remember, it's just a 3-month.
We already did it. We already did that.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, motion.
I will make a motion to ratify the unanimous consents listed.
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. Unanimous. We're gonna have, Cody talk about the clubhouse roof issues,
Okay,
which hence the overtime of why Angel had to come back on property and,
multiple times at this point.
correct.
Alright, so just to give you short, I don't know, everyone's probably not aware, I think Danny knows some of the issues, the board knows. First issue was the kitchen, we noticed there was a leak coming in. One company said it was the gutter, one said it was the way the gutter was attached to the flashing, another company said it was the roof. So that's when I was like, alright, we're getting the roofing gutters inspected. Then we had that issue in the gym. So we're really having the roofs inspected. I think before the gym, we had 2 companies out, and after the gym, I had 3 more come out. I had Racked Roofing and ABC Roofing. Racked Roofing I've worked with before when they were Native Roofing out of Fort Pierce. ABC Roofing is a company I met at the expo a few weeks ago. One of the other companies was, my eyes are good, but they Golden Keys Construction, which is a company our maintenance guy has used for his personal home. Sailfish Roofing came out, and so did, oh, that's the same people, okay. Rack Roofing gave us 2 options, 62.7 to replace for a single layer of protection underneath the cement tiles, and 78,000 for a double layer. ABC Roofing basically came in at the same price, they're $95 a sheet. I'd have to reread Rack's Roofing, but they usually will include plywood and everything in their proposal. They also have a wooden labor addendum they will provide if we hire.
How big is the leak? I mean, how big do they have to replace the line?
Oh, no, we need to replace the entire roof, it's 20 years old. I actually stood out there with the girl from Rack Roofing and she had her drone up taking pictures of the clubhouse. She was showing me specific areas where they tried repairs and the repairs have failed. Their recommendation 100% is the replacement of the roof, considering the age and the issues in the multiple locations that we have. That would be my recommendation. Again, I was talking about earlier about it, if we replace the roof, that may help us with our insurance costs.
Yeah.
There will. So there's that for going into next year when we do the renewal, which is usually April or May for most properties. We have a new roof line. We don't have to have as much insurance on the clubhouse. ABC, I've never worked with. Rack Roofing, I have. They do a great job. They have project managers on property that have time. All of their crew worked for Rack Roofing. There is no hiring of separate crews for the tear-off or install. I haven't honestly been able to review the one from this company. I just know it says no hidden fees, free plywood replaces needed, free fascia, and then wind mitigation certificate. I would love to go pick up the icons, but if we're getting free plywood. Again, this is not something we have to decide on tonight. I know there's a lot of information I forwarded to these guys regarding the roof. My thought is though, the sooner we can make a decision, the better off we're gonna be in the long run. ABC and Rack Roofing came in pretty much the same for a single system. Rack Roofing was 62.7, ABC was 68.3. For the double layer system, Rack was 78,000 and ABC actually came in at 70.
Are they doing tar or are they doing non-stick underlayment?
Sorry?
Are they doing self-adhering underlayment or are they doing tar?
I would have to read more into the actual like scope of it.
It's usually single layer, the self-adhering is really good.
Well, they're recommending double because of the amount of rain we get, because that can be a concrete tile.
Yeah.
But I did ask it, I was like, give me both options, I'll let the board decide, so I think go ahead to, do that extra level.
Yeah, all the houses here have double.
Double's the way to go, it's just gonna be. And this will come out of reserves, we can't use reserve funds for this, it's not anything we're gonna have to.
But just, so those in the room understand, so what we're all looking at frantically is the reserve study.
Yes.
Which was done last year, per the experts, which is why we also pulled out the parking, because it was just not numbers that we as a board could sleep on. There was just such varied quotes, but per the reserve study from last year, they said we had 8 more years left on the roof, and that we wouldn't need to replace the roof until 2033. So it is budgeted in the reserve, but not till 2033.
Yeah, so these are.
But all that to say, we also budgeted in the reserve, spent over $300,000 on a system, so that's just the difference though in.
Yeah, and I think if I recall right, the reserve amount was a lot higher too than we're gonna.
Right, it couldn't do, but. Well,
Well, 92, we did it last year, 112, we did it.
exactly, so there, first one. But by the way, how about Golden? You didn't mention that, Golden, all 56.
Yes, that's, no, I did not bring that up, yeah, they're at 66, was that a single layer or double?
That's the one with free plywood.
I bet it's a single layer, they're gonna give us free.
Engagement.
So,
How much- how much more?
Adam has finished with some roofers, I want the finance committee to look at it as well. And really dig deep and put maybe an ad hoc committee together, does anybody wanna be on that committee to look, to truly see if we need the roof done? And look at the quotes and really dig deep in, because this is a major thing to be done, we cannot
You'll have your
make
parking
a
lot.
fly-by-night decision about this, or, you know, we really need some research. Okay, thank you, anybody else? You will.
One more.
Tony, Larry, anybody, Brian, Larry?
Security.
And Adam, you're gonna help provide vendors.
Good,
You wanna
you
go
find
on-
that
you wanna go on that committee? Okay.
We don't need to talk.
Explain where this money will come from, no matter what the cost is. Everybody knows.
It would not be an operating expense, it would be a reserve.
But this is why the
Why,
board
and why, it
fund.
does have to be funded.
Yeah.
As Joe pointed out, the reserve study last year says you have 8 years of useful life, that is always an estimate. As you know, Florida gets fun storms, we have a few this summer. Which can obviously alter the useful life.
Well, once we put that together and make the decision, that's where that little newsletter that comes out. That's where some of that, and they're like, you know, to the homeowners, you have to make stuff to say. We have to have this roof done.
It's a good idea.
That, you know, and it's not gonna cost you anything.
Yeah.
And that's a good little letter though.
We're gonna over that to have.
Yeah, I like that.
I got you.
Thank you.
And that way they think.
Well, you got
Anybody
trouble
else?
anyway.
Anybody else want to be on that committee? Okay, Johnny. Perfect.
What's next on our agenda?
All right, moving on, pedestrian gate, so it came up that multiple residents have requested that the Silver Wolf pedestrian gate be locked. Okay, which brings
The
into
one
question.
to, the one to map.
To map our correct, sorry. There's been history, at one point it used to be locked. Larry, who's lived there for a long time,
From the beginning.
you can tell us
Always
the
been
truth.
when it was blocked, people complained that it was blocked. And you have people from outside of this community ride bikes through there, walk through there. I don't know what the big concern is, but people coming in and walking, you can't bring the car through there. We haven't had any problem that I know of vandalism, theft, or incursion on anybody's property. I think it'd be a waste of time to lock that again. Could give, the last time, I think it was a padlock, and you had to hand out the code to everybody that wanted to use it. It's just, it's an over.
Anything with everything?
Well,
That might protect you from that.
I got a complaint from one of the citizens that had opposite view, that said that there was people coming in, she doesn't feel safe there, and always was locked. Always is kind of like a bullet.
Yeah, but Larry's been there from the beginning, so we now we know it wasn't.
It's not-
All the vandalism at his house is.
It's not like
Taking responsibility for the
a gate that has any lights. So anybody can go in there. The other day, there was someone from, lived down on that road, it seemed like that's where she's coming from, with a bicycle speeding along the sidewalk, making a turn up in the other gate and almost hitting somebody. So, you know, the people who use it, and I'm a dog lover, I love dogs with everyone, but some Matt Road walks with dogs through here, and one of them used to fight somebody at our crossing. Okay, who they gonna sue? Us.
That's why I said you need your sign, private.
Signs, we have signs that don't trespassing, residents only, but there's nobody
No, I'm thinking liability wise though.
I think it costs to do that, put a box, gate, not a lock. Not a chain, whatever, about $160. Cody?
Sorry?
Electronic,
The quote for just Silverwood was either like 136 or 162, it wasn't expensive.
Power, how's we gonna put it up?
It's not gonna be powered, it's literally just gonna be a lock that has a little keypad on it.
So I think my concern as a board member is
How do you log on?
how it invests and how you lock one and out the rest. I'm unaware of it being a massive security issue. I would think that the security issue would be bigger at the main gates or at the gates that are right off of Swallowtail here, so.
I will say the only complaints I've received have been from Silverwood's pedestrian gate. None of the other dates I've received complaints on the
And how many complaints do you have, how many residents on?
Just one on that road.
So it's
one.
like looking.
She's looking for you.
Well, okay, well, make a motion that, we put in electronic gate using fob.
No, that's a whole different ballgame, that's very
That's
expensive.
very expensive. All it's gonna be is, you know, when you go to the doctor's office, they have their private doors, it's got a door handle with a little key. That's all it's gonna be on both sides.
But
It's
it's
$160.
supposed to be, put the keypad security, device on pedestrian gate and so.
So just Silverwood for now?
Is there a second?
I'm sorry.
Yes, that's what I was.
Motion.
Is there a second? Motion dies.
We'll keep that on there.
There's no second.
There's nothing.
I'm used to that now.
Okay, well, two, three.
Well, then I'll re-motion
Okay,
that we put in the same device, similar device on all the pedestrian ones.
So that falls back
That's
into what
safe.
we were talking about with security, about having powered and key fobs, like similar to what we have.
No, what,
No, they're
No,
talking
these are,
about-
no, it's literally just a combo lock, it's just the big battery out.
If I'm doing fobs, I have to make sure each gate has electricity run to it, and I'm probably not gonna be there.
I've been in the bus stops and children and kids remembering codes and parents trying to get in and out to their bus.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it on.
That's a whole other problem.
All right,
Yeah,
so
it's fine.
then the motion is
Motion is
for all pedestrian gates to have a keypad.
But the only difference I will say is the one at Silver Wolf on map does not have cameras, all the other ones, except for Roby Way,
they don't.
on the back one have camera, what?
It used to
Well,
have-
whether they do or they don't, but I'm just saying, well, yeah, but I'm just saying, you can argue based on.
But it's really.
It used to be a trail cam, so
So where is it?
it was taken down a long time ago. Somebody has to monitor the trail cam.
Right.
It doesn't
All right,
come back.
okay,
in.
but now it's a motion.
Anyway, the motion is for all pedestrian gates to have a keypad, a security device.
Is there a second? Motion does not get, motion dies.
Move on.
Hey, you did what you said.
Pavers.
Okay, Cody spoke about the pavers, that several companies came out, their recommendation was to replace the pool tech,
I didn't want to yell that.
we do not feel that is necessary. The one company is gonna cost $750 from Rack Roofing and Construction to replace front here and the few areas of the pool. I make a motion to.
Oh, and they will also let us know if there's more issues. for
What
free.
about
Tell us how
Apex
many
Pavers,
pavers.
doesn't he live in your neighborhood?
My guess is just price.
No.
Yeah.
They can certainly reach out to them, but I don't know if they have.
And they were, he was.
He lives right next door to me.
I know. You could reach out to Apex Pavers.
They're very.
They're expensive.
Yeah, I saw him.
I have
right
that.
handed in here.
I had them come out
That's
to
a
my
wonder.
driveway that has papers and one of our oak trees were messing it up at a different property. For what, 4 feet
4 feet across the driveway, 2 feet up and 4 feet back, they wanted like $10,000 for the papers. I had a guy come up with everything. Apex is very expensive.
He should see it clean.
Alright. I'll give a motion to.
We have a motion, we have a first and second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Yeah.
You want to talk quickly about the computer?
Pool heater, I was told by our current company that it's broken, they submitted a proposal, 2 options, one for 4,900, one for 56. I'm assuming 56 isn't available because they only gave me labor option on one of them. They're
Wait,
proposing
let's see what happens.
5,290, here's the problem, $5,291 to replace it. I had Legacy Custom Pools based in Palm City come out. They were able to turn both heaters on. Here's the problem we're finding. The heaters work. It may be the heating element inside, so these pool companies are trying to be able to replace the entire heater when it may not be necessary. So I am reaching out to a couple more companies that will actually open up the heater and let me know if the whole thing needs to be replaced or not. I'm feeling a little sketchy about our current pool company.
So we're gonna go out for the.
Yes.
No action had to be taken.
Correct.
So there's no motion to take, I just want to let you know, the pool heater may or may not be working, and I am working on getting it fixed.
We originally budgeted, the reserve study contemplates that being done in 2029 for about 17 feet. So.
That's what you'll think of that. This is apparently only one of them is not working. I gotta meet with the pool guy to figure out what's actually going.
This is
The
another.
the pool heater's not working, it will be chilly, I'm sorry, Jackie. I am working as hard as I can to get it heated again for you.
This is another example of one, an item that's very expensive that one group wants. Which I don't really use.
Yeah, I think they're less with the pool.
I mean, we're having her. I don't use the gym, I don't need it. You got it, how you got arguments, well, it's for the betterment of the community, not necessarily.
Frozen.
And again, as I just said, I know Danny heard me, maybe not everyone else, the pool heater is something we can use reserves for. So it's not something that we have to use operating, it is something we can use operating for. But that also is something that is considered a capital improvement and we can.
Well, if we're replacing it, we should do.
Yes.
Hair, I think I can use it. Replacement, yes.
About the emergency fund.
Cement it up. How much was all of this? All
Yeah,
right.
so
Moving
these-
on to the website, the association is looking to create this one of this a while back. We are getting near the time because we have to be live and ready to go, in January. For the statutes,
Yes.
having everything voted, and no, disrespect to Advantage, but Highlands wants their own website, so we can control and have all our stuff and all our documents in the future, and what happened in the past, with Castle and everything else, we have control of our, regardless of the management company that we are hired.
Oh, you didn't get stabbed in the back, that's okay.
So-
You're fine.
Danny, and Cody are looking into options and creating the new website and setting it up and trying to figure out what's the best way to go.
And he tried this a number of years ago.
It's depending on the company you go with, and how much snow. So I've got a condo that pays almost $500 a year on the website, and they got anything they did. It's come out of office.
They come out of office expense? So that's just.
And that's a one time, all we have to do is pay a yearly fee, or I think there's a 5 years we can do. Through HOA Express is one of the websites I use, and then there's Web Sticks or something like that, another one.
Okay, so that we have to get on.
I'm just saying that you should, if it's anything significant in out of office expense, we should probably put it in, but talk about the details of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go with it.
Okay, perfect. All right, last is old business, basically, we had SmartWebs, which Larry sits on the, art committee, and they seem to be able to work much better with the SmartWebs and get things done,
What
at
is
faster pace.
people?
So the SmartWebs,
It tracks the violations, the art applications.
basically what they'll do is, I'll build a fun little app. It'll have a map of the community, I'll go to Danny's house, boom, architectural request, Danny wants a new pool, beautiful. The art can have access to it, they can review it, go by Danny's house, whatever they need. Violations, Becky will will have access. I violate Becky's house for having a dirty driveway.
Yeah, that won't happen.
So I believe arc is yellow, violations are red, and then green is they have nothing going. Becky can jump in the car with me, we can go, oh, hey, look, Tony thinks it's violation, I can click on the app, close out the violation. How much does it cost? I think it's like $80 a month. It's not bad. We're getting a very good price because we're going through Advantage to set this up. Instead of you guys doing it on your own.
Is there any contract?
Need to go over it? I don't believe so, we just basically pay service. Yep. But yeah, it's only, I think it's like 25 cents a house a month. It ends up being like $80. If we do it without Advantage, it's $1.75.
Is it a useful tool to help our community?
Larry, is it useful?
Yes.
Okay.
It expedites the review of applications. Vote, you have to analyze it, you have to make comments.
I'll go ahead and move to engage SmartWebs.
I amend the motion. I would like to amend the motion on the floor to proceed with adopting SmartWebs with a not to exceed amount of $80 per month.
It's roughly 80.
So I would say.
Not to exceed.
Let's say not to exceed $90 per
I'll
month.
accept, yeah.
If I did the math, it comes out to like 79 and change, but you, just in case, because we will have a mailing that they'll send out telling everyone that we're going to SmartWebs to give them access to see their violations and things like
I
that.
just wanna make sure it doesn't, it's not something that we thought was 80 when we approved it, and all of a sudden it's 800.
319 homes.
Okay. Second the motion,
Yeah, so it's only $80 a month.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Michael, you second, I second. Motion carries. Okay.
I think something heard here, some of the discussions tonight were a little bit different. This board does not advocate, suggest in any way, think that our residents should be putting shame upon another resident for any reason. That's the official position of this board. Which against the suit for libel.
Which is why when he said what I said, I do not condone it as your property manager, the private citizen, do whatever you want.
The board that
I will not condone anything.
The board that I
Nope.
for the liability.
Motion to adjourn,
9:01. Second.
all in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody. These things, guys, this is the property manager for the budget and the head of finance. Do we wear it?